Imagine standing in front of two just massive, brightly colored architectural structures.
Right, built literally right out over the water.
Yeah, exactly, over the water. And one is shaped like the terrifying open jaws of a giant tiger.
Oh, wow.
And the other is the roaring mouth of this, like, mythical dragon. You're about to step inside to explore the beautiful towers behind them, but...
Let me guess, there's a catch.
Huge catch. Before you take a single step, a local guide stops you with this look of absolute seriousness.
Uh-oh. What do they say?
They tell you that if you walk into the tiger's mouth first, you are quite literally inviting disaster and bad luck into your life.
Oh, man. So you definitely don't want to do that.
No, absolutely not. You have to enter the dragon and escape the tiger.
That is such a vivid image.
Right. So today we are navigating the strict spiritual rules, the stunning underground art, and the incredibly flavorful street food of southern Taiwan.
And we are using this exact journey as, well, kind of a masterclass to upgrade your English vocabulary.
Exactly. Because, I mean, it's a journey that perfectly captures how travel can just... It can transform the way we learn, you know?
Oh, totally. Because when you're standing in front of those giant tiger jaws or, say, trying to order a fresh glass of papaya milk in a super crowded night market.
Yeah, surrounded by all that noise.
Right. The language stops being this rigid academic subject. It's no longer about memorizing a textbook.
It becomes your immediate survival tool.
Exactly. It becomes your bridge to actually connecting with a completely different culture.
Well said. So welcome to our deep dive. I am so thrilled you're here with us today.
Same here. It's going to be a great one.
So the mission for our conversation today is really twofold. We've got this fascinating 3-part travel and language guide in front of us, following a traveler named Kevin.
Right. And first, we want you to really experience the sensory details, the sights, the food, the culture of his destination.
But second, and honestly just as importantly, we're using Kevin's journey to help you naturally absorb essential English travel vocabulary.
Yeah, we're talking about the kind of nuanced, descriptive language that takes your English from, basic textbook phrases to really vibrant storytelling.
And the destination providing the backdrop for all of this is Kaohsiung.
Kaohsiung, yes. It's a major city in the south of Taiwan.
And it's affectionately known in our sources as both the Harbor City and the Sunshine City.
Just hearing those two titles, it gives you an immediate sense of the atmosphere, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Water and light.
Yeah, it's a city that's basically defined by its relationship to the ocean and its consistently beautiful, warm weather.
Now, before we jump into Kevin's actual itinerary, I want to set a quick ground rule for our deep dive today.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Kaohsiung is really famous for its relaxed, comfortable pace of life.
Yeah, people do not rush there the way they do in other major metropolitan centers.
Exactly. So we are going to mirror that exact pacing today.
I love that idea.
Yeah, if you are an English learner listening to us right now, just, take a deep breath and let your shoulders drop.
We are not going to speak too quickly.
Nope. And we're not going to use overly complex academic jargon without breaking it down for you.
Right. We're going to take our time, really explore the nuances of these English words naturally.
And let you absorb the language exactly as if you were strolling down a sunlit street in the Harbor City yourself.
That is literally the perfect approach. Learning a language should feel like exploring a new city, right?
Yeah, it should be enjoyable.
Enjoyable, full of discoveries, and most importantly, taken at a pace that allows you to actually look around and appreciate the view.
Absolutely. So let's start right at the beginning of Kevin's journey.
Because the moment he arrives, our sources highlight this massive, immediate contrast.
Right. So Kevin takes the high-speed rail down the western coast of Taiwan.
And he started his trip in Taipei, the capital city in the north.
Now, I always think of Taipei as a city that runs on a very, very high frequency.
Oh, sure. The traffic is dense. People are moving with this distinct sense of urgency.
Yeah, and the buildings are towering and just packed so tightly together.
But when Kevin steps out of the train station in Kaohsiung, the sources describe a really profound physical and psychological shift.
Yeah, the environment completely changes the way you carry yourself.
Our sources explicitly note that the roads in Kaohsiung are much wider.
Much wider. The physical layout of the city is just far more open.
And that physical space, it translates directly into a psychological openness.
Yeah. When the sky isn't obscured by this tight canyon of skyscrapers and the avenues are broad, that frantic energy of the capital city kind of just dissipates.
The pace of life noticeably slows down.
It makes complete sense, though. I mean, when you have more physical room to navigate, you don't feel the need to constantly rush to get out of everyone else's way.
Right, you can actually pause.
You can breathe. And as Kevin steps into this wide-open, sun-drenched space, he uses our first essential piece of vocabulary.
He describes the weather and the atmosphere as sunny.
Now, sunny is a perfectly fine adjective.
Yeah. The sky is blue, the sun is out, bring your sunglasses.
Right, but the sources don't stop there. They use a much richer, much more powerful word to describe the fundamental character of Kaohsiung.
They call the city vibrant.
Vibrant. I love that word.
Vibrant is a spectacular word for any English learner to master, honestly.
Why do you say that?
Well, because it does so much more heavy lifting than simple color words, like bright or loud.
Yeah, that's true.
If you look at the root of the word, it connects to the concept of vibration.
Oh, like a physical vibration.
Exactly. Think of a guitar string the moment after you pluck it. It vibrates.
It hums, yeah.
Right? It hums with kinetic energy. It is physically moving.
So when we call a city vibrant, we aren't just saying the buildings are painted with nice colors.
No, not at all.
Ah.
We are saying the city itself feels like that plucked guitar string.
It's humming with life.
Precisely. A vibrant city has an energy that you can almost feel in the air.
Like the street markets are bustling, the art is dynamic, the conversations are lively.
It is the absolute opposite of dull, stagnant, or boring.
So when you use vibrant, instead of just saying a place is like very nice or very colorful, you're painting a much more active, living picture for whoever's listening to your travel stories.
Yeah, exactly. And Kevin runs headfirst into this vibrant energy at his very first destination.
Oh yeah, he heads to an area called Yancheng to visit the Pier 2 Art Center.
And the sources dive into the history of this location, which is where the story gets really fascinating to me.
Definitely. Because Kaohsiung is a harbor city, meaning its history is built on shipping, global trade, heavy industry.
Right. Pier 2 wasn't originally built to be an art center.
Not at all. It used to be this massive complex of old, functional, industrial warehouses right on the water.
And I mean, warehouses are generally built for pure utility.
Yeah, they're just giant, cavernous structures designed solely to store goods before they're loaded onto cargo ships.
Usually made of corrugated metal and concrete. They're not built for aesthetic beauty.
But what the sources highlight here is a really brilliant example of adaptive reuse.
Right. Taking something that has basically outlived its original purpose and injecting it with completely new life.
Yeah, the sources describe how these abandoned, rusty industrial spaces have been totally transformed.
Artists came in and literally used these massive warehouse walls as giant canvases for incredible street art.
Oh, and they installed these huge, quirky statues throughout the old shipping yards.
They took the heavy gray machinery of the city's past and covered it in vibrant, modern creativity.
There's that word again, vibrant. It creates such a brilliant juxtaposition.
It really does. You have the raw, rough history of the harbor's industrial past, acting as the structural foundation for contemporary, colorful art.
It honors the history of the working-class harbor while simultaneously looking forward to a creative future.
Now, the sources use a very specific, very modern term to describe the Pier 2 Art Center today.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
They call it highly Instagrammable.
Instagrammable, meaning it is the perfect environment to take striking photographs to post on social media. But I have to admit, whenever I see travel guides heavily promoting a place as Instagrammable, I get a little bit, well, cynical.
Really? Why is that?
I always wonder, does this change the way we actually interact with the space?
I see what you mean.
Like, are people going to Pier 2 to experience the art and understand the history of the harbor? Or are they just walking around staring at their phone screens looking for the optimal lighting to take a selfie?
That is a very common and honestly very valid critique of modern travel culture.
It sometimes feels like the pursuit of the photo overrides the actual experience of the place.
Yeah, the phenomenon of traveling just for social media clout can certainly flatten the experience.
Right.
However, I kind of look at it from a slightly different angle, especially in the context of what the sources are teaching us about Kaohsiung.
Oh, how so?
Well, I think Instagrammable in this specific instance is just a 21st century vocabulary word for that vibrant energy we were just discussing.
Wait, how do you mean? You think it's just a modern translation of an old habit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, human beings have always possessed a deep desire to capture and share moments that visually arrest them.
That's true.
100 years ago, a traveler might sit on that pier and spend 2 hours sketching the harbor in a leather notebook.
Or writing a highly descriptive postcard to send back home to their family.
Right. They wanted to capture the striking visual of the place, Today, the tool has simply changed from a pen to a smartphone camera.
Okay, yeah.
The art at Pier 2, the massive murals painted on old metal, the oversized statues, it is visually explosive. It commands your attention.
So calling it Instagrammable is just acknowledging that the space is so vibrant, so visually compelling, that it triggers our natural human instinct to say, hey, look at this incredible thing I found.
Exactly.
Okay, that is a really fair counterpoint. The medium has changed, but the desire to share a vibrant experience remains the exact same.
And for an English learner, understanding a modern colloquial word like Instagrammable is incredibly useful.
Oh, absolutely.
It instantly communicates to anyone you are talking to that a location is visually stunning and aesthetically designed.
It is a word you will encounter in almost every contemporary travel blog or guide, so adding it to your vocabulary arsenal is a smart move.
So Kevin has soaked in the vibrant street art and the repurposed industrial history of the warehouses.
But Pier 2 is right on the edge of the water, and Kevin wants to explore further.
Right, he wants to cross the harbor to an area called Sijin.
And this brings us to a part of the narrative that completely shifted my perspective on how public transportation can function.
Yes, Kevin makes his way to the ferry pier in the Gushan area.
Now, a ferry, fundamentally, is just a boat that operates on a regular schedule to carry passengers, and sometimes cargo or vehicles, across a body of water.
But the sources emphasize that this isn't some massive hours-long ocean voyage.
No, not at all. This specific ferry ride from Gushan to Sijin is incredibly brief.
It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to cross the harbor water.
But here is the mechanism that absolutely fascinated me in the source material.
The scooters.
Yes. This isn't just a passenger boat where you walk on and find a seat. People actually drive their scooters directly onto the lower deck of the ferry.
It is a brilliant logistical ballet.
I just try to picture the scene, you know? Taiwan is famous for its scooter culture. It is the primary way millions of people get around.
Oh yeah, scooters are everywhere.
But the idea of driving your scooter down a ramp onto a floating vessel and then just sitting there, balancing on two wheels with the engine off while the boat glides across the harbor water.
It's so unique.
It is such a wonderfully unique blend of road transit and maritime travel.
And it speaks directly to the efficiency of daily life in Kaohsiung.
How so?
Well, if you are a local resident commuting to work, you don't want to park your scooter, take a boat, and then figure out how to get around on the other side.
Right, that would take forever.
You want to bring your primary mode of transportation with you.
Yeah.
You drive onto the boat, enjoy a 5-minute view of the city skyline, and the moment the ferry docks, you start your engine and drive straight off onto the streets of Sijin.
Seamless movement.
Exactly. Seamless movement.
And that seamless movement is crucial because once Kevin gets off that ferry in Sijin, the geography of the place dictates his next move.
Right. The sources highlight that Sijin is a long, thin island that acts as a breakwater for the main harbor.
And because of this specific stretched out shape, Kevin opts to rent a bicycle to explore the coastline.
Which is the ultimate pacing tool for this specific environment.
The ultimate pacing tool?
Yeah, think about it. If you try to walk the length of a long, thin island, it becomes an exhausting, all-day athletic endeavor.
You miss the joy of it because you were just trying to cover ground.
Right. Conversely, if you drive a car, you move too fast.
You are insulated behind glass, running the air conditioning, completely cut off from the sensory experience of the coast.
Exactly. A bicycle hits the perfect middle ground. You cover the long distance efficiently, but you remain completely exposed to the environment.
And what an environment it is. The sources use a fantastic sensory adjective to describe the weather and the feeling of this bicycle ride along the Sijin coast.
They describe it as breezy.
Breezy. Now, for an English learner, it is incredibly important to understand the nuance between the word windy and the word breezy.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they paint two very different emotional pictures.
It is a critical distinction. Both words describe moving air, but the connotation, the feeling associated with the word, is entirely different.
Right, so if you describe a day as windy, the implication is often disruptive.
Yeah, a windy day might blow your hat off. It might make it difficult to pedal your bicycle. It might throw sand in your eyes.
Windy implies force.
But breezy implies comfort.
A breeze is a light, gentle, refreshing current of air.
When the sources say the ferry ride and the bike ride were breezy, they are telling you that the ocean air was acting like a natural cooling system against the warm southern sun.
It feels effortless and relaxing.
If you want to describe a perfect day by the ocean in English, breezy is the exact word you want to reach for.
And after spending the morning enjoying that breezy coastal ride, Kevin's itinerary brings us to one of the most important aspects of any culture. Oh yes, the food.
The sources note that he stops for lunch at Sijin's famous seafood street.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, we are on an island in a harbor city. The ocean is literally right there.
And the text introduces a crucial vocabulary word to describe the seafood Kevin experiences. They call it authentic.
Authentic.
Now, the word authentic gets thrown around a lot in food writing and travel blogs.
Too much sometimes.
Yeah, but in this specific context, what does it actually mean?
Well, it is a profound word when applied to cultural experiences. Let's look at the mechanism of tourist food versus authentic food.
So,
In many major tourist destinations around the world, local cuisine undergoes a process of adaptation.
like restaurants will alter their traditional recipes.
Exactly. Maybe dialing down the spice, removing unfamiliar ingredients, or changing the cooking methods to make the food more palatable or safe for the gentle stomachs of foreign visitors.
Right. The food becomes a watered-down replica of the real thing.
It's like listening to a cover band instead of the original artist. Oh, that's a great analogy. It might sound okay, but it lacks the original soul.
Exactly. When the sources describe the seafood on Sijin as authentic, they are guaranteeing the original soul.
It means the catch is local, pulled straight from those harbor water.
It means it is prepared using the exact same traditional methods, spices, and techniques that the local families of Kaohsiung have used for generations.
It is not modified for the tourist palate.
Eating authentic food is a form of deep respect. You are experiencing the culture exactly as it exists for the people who actually live there.
So for our English learners, if you want to ask a local for a restaurant recommendation, you don't just ask, where is the good food?
No, you ask, where can I find the most authentic local food?
That single word completely changes the quality of the recommendation you will receive.
It tells the local that you don't want the tourist trap, you want the real experience.
It is a word that opens doors to genuine cultural immersion.
So true.
Now, Kevin's first day is steeped in the natural environment, the harbor, the breeze, the authentic ocean catch.
But as we move into the second day of the source material, the narrative thematic entirely shifts.
It really does. We move from the natural elements of the coast into the engineered infrastructure and the deep spiritual architecture of the city center.
We are transitioning from how the city interacts with the ocean to how the city moves its people underground.
Yes, the sources highlight the Kaohsiung MRT system.
MRT stands for Mass Rapid Transit, which is the subterranean subway network.
Now, navigating a subway system in a foreign city can be incredibly intimidating.
Oh, for sure. You are underground, you don't know the geography, there are crowds of people.
But the sources point out that the Kaohsiung MRT is famous for being exceptionally user-friendly for visitors.
And this is a perfect moment to focus on the mechanics of transit vocabulary. The sources focus heavily on the word transfer.
Transfer.
Transfer is perhaps the most vital verb you can learn for navigating public transit in English.
Why is that?
While words like station, which is the physical location, or line, which is the specific route a train takes, usually color-coded like the red line or orange line, those are static nouns.
Right, they don't move.
But transfer is an action.
I see. So if I want to go somewhere on the red line, but I'm currently sitting on an orange line train, the train itself is not going to magically jump to a different track.
No, it is not.
I have to take action. I have to physically exit the orange line train, navigate through the architecture of the station, and board a completely different train on the red line.
That entire process of moving from one route to another is a transfer.
And the beauty of the Kaohsiung MRT is how they handle the environment where that transfer takes place.
Yeah, usually in subway systems around the world, transfer stations are purely utilitarian.
Yeah, they are just concrete boxes filled with fluorescent lights, designed solely to funnel thousands of rushing people from point A to point B as quickly as possible.
They're often stressful, chaotic environments.
But Kaohsiung decided to completely subvert that expectation.
They really did.
Yeah.
The primary transfer point between the orange and red lines is a station called Formosa Boulevard.
And instead of a dark concrete box, the city installed an architectural masterpiece right in the center of the underground concourse.
The sources refer to it as the Dome of Light.
The Dome of Light. Now, a dome is an architectural structure shaped like the upper half of a sphere.
And this particular dome is completely constructed from thousands of pieces of vividly colored glass.
The sources actually describe it as one of the most beautiful subway stations in the world.
And think about the psychological effect of that.
Right. You are underground. You are likely in the middle of a busy commute or trying to figure out your travel map.
You are in a state of transit just trying to get to the next thing.
And then you step into this massive, illuminated, circular space.
The colorful glass ceiling tells a sweeping narrative story through light and color.
It forces you to stop walking. It forces you to look up.
It takes the stressful, mundane action of a transfer and elevates it into a moment of artistic awe.
It is another perfect example of that word we discussed earlier. Vibrant.
Absolutely. Even beneath the earth, completely cut off from the sunshine, the city insists on being vibrant and full of energy.
I love that connection so much.
So Kevin completes his transfer under the beautiful glass dome, gets onto the red line, and heads north to a location called Lotus Pond.
And this is where we encounter some of the most fascinating cultural and spiritual rules in the entire source material.
Lotus Pond is a scenic lake famous for its high concentration of traditional temples.
And the focal point of Kevin's visit here are the dragon and tiger pagodas.
Let's visualize this for the listener because the architecture is really stunning.
Yes, let's. So a pagoda is a traditional Asian architectural form,
Right. It is a tall, tiered tower.
meaning it has multiple distinct levels or floors stacked on top of one another, usually featuring roofs with corners that sweep elegantly upward.
They are deeply tied to religious and spiritual spaces.
And at Lotus Pond, there are 2 of these towering pagodas built out over the water.
But to access them, you literally have to walk through massive, vibrantly painted tunnels shaped like the bodies of a dragon and a tiger.
Which brings us back to that stark warning we discussed at the very beginning of our deep dive.
Right. The architecture here is not just for decoration. It physically enforces a strict spiritual rule.
Yes, the rule is absolute. You must enter through the dragon's mouth, and you must exit through the tiger's mouth.
When I first read this in the sources, I thought it was just a fun, quirky tourist suggestion.
Right, me too. But the sources emphasize that getting this backward is considered a serious misstep.
So why is the directional flow so critical here?
To understand the why, we have to look at the deeply rooted Taoist symbolism and the concept of yin and yang that governs these spaces.
Okay, break that down for us.
In traditional Chinese cosmology, the dragon is the ultimate symbol of auspiciousness.
Meaning it brings good luck.
Exactly. It represents supreme good fortune, divine protection, and life-giving energy. It is fundamentally positive.
Okay, and the tiger.
The tiger, on the other hand, while highly respected for its immense power, represents a more volatile, dangerous energy. It is associated with death, the underworld, and the fierce protection against evil spirits.
So your physical movement through these structures is actually a symbolic spiritual journey.
Precisely. The architecture forces you to act out a ritual of purification and luck.
When you walk into the open jaws of the dragon, you are symbolically walking into an aura of good fortune and divine blessing.
You absorb that positive energy as you climb the pagoda.
Then, when your visit is complete, you walk out through the jaws of the tiger.
This symbolizes escaping from danger, conquering fear, and leaving bad luck behind you.
You enter with fortune, you escape from peril.
So if a tourist is distracted and wanders into the tiger's mouth first,
They are symbolically walking straight into the belly of danger.
yeah, they were inviting disaster into their life before they even reached the tower.
Exactly. It reverses the flow of luck. It turns a ritual of blessing into a ritual of cursing oneself.
It is a phenomenal example of how physical architecture and cultural belief are completely intertwined in Kaohsiung.
The building dictates your behavior.
Consider that a vital piece of survival knowledge for any traveler. Enter the dragon, exit the tiger.
Good advice. And the sources continue this theme of spiritual etiquette by detailing how Kevin navigates the actual temples surrounding the pond.
Knowing how to behave in a sacred space is essential for any traveler.
The sources highlight the basic etiquette, maintaining quiet, being respectful of the space.
Because a temple is an active place of worship, not an amusement park.
Right. People are there seeking peace, offering prayers, or dealing with grief.
But the sources also focus on a specific, deeply interactive ritual that you will see inside almost every traditional temple in Taiwan.
Oh, yes. They mentioned the use of moon blocks.
Moon blocks. The visual description provided by the sources is very clear. These are 2 small blocks of wood, usually painted a deep red.
And they're crescent-shaped.
Let's expand on that shape for our English learners. Crescent-shaped means they look like a crescent moon in the night sky.
They are curved, like the shape of a banana or a croissant.
They are not perfectly round or square. One side of the block is completely flat and the other side is curved outward.
And the mechanism of how these blocks are used is utterly fascinating.
It is a direct method of communicating with the divine.
It is how locals ask the gods for guidance or answers to specific, usually yes or no questions.
The sources explain that a person will hold the two blocks, silently ask their question to the deity, and then drop or toss the blocks onto the stone floor.
And the answer from the god is entirely dependent on how the blocks land in relation to each other.
The mechanism relies on that flat versus curved geometry.
Because there are two blocks, and each has a flat and a curved side, there are only a few possible combinations when they hit the floor.
Right, so if one block lands flat side up and the other lands curved side up, that creates balance.
That is the divine yes. The god agrees or approves.
But what if they both land with the curved side up, rocking on the floor?
That is a firm no. The gods disagree with your proposition, or they are telling you the path is wrong.
And if they both land flat side up?
It is often interpreted as the gods laughing at the question, or saying that the answer is unclear and you shouldn't be asking yet.
It is such a beautiful, tactile way of interacting with spirituality.
It really is. And the sources offer a really wise piece of advice here for the traveler.
They suggest that instead of interrupting a local to ask them a million questions about what they are doing, the best way to learn is simply to stand back and quietly observe.
Observation is a highly underrated travel skill.
Totally. You don't always need to force an interaction to learn.
Watching the gravity with which a person drops those moon blocks and seeing the relief or the disappointment on their face based on how the wood lands.
It teaches you more about the emotional weight of the culture than reading a plaque on the wall ever could.
Absolutely. So we've covered so much ground. The vibrant art, the breezy ferry, the subterranean-like dome, and the strict spiritual rules of the pagodas.
But as the sun goes down on Kevin's second day, we arrive at the absolute undisputed champion of Taiwanese travel experiences.
The night market.
The evening brings us to the culinary explosion of the night market.
And the night market is where the language of food becomes incredibly rich.
And the sources provide an interesting nuance right away regarding which market to choose.
Yes, Kaohsiung has multiple night markets, and the text points out a fascinating divergence.
Kevin visits the Luhe night market. The sources note that Luhe is incredibly famous, but it caters heavily to tourists.
The streets are exceptionally wide, the signage is often in multiple languages, and it is very accessible.
It is the classic streamlined experience.
However, the sources contrast this by noting that the local residents of Kaohsiung often prefer to navigate toward the Rufeng night market.
And this is a dynamic you see in cities all over the world.
Oh, for sure. The famous market becomes a bit too polished for the locals, so they retreat to a denser, more chaotic, but perhaps more authentic space.
Rufeng is known for being tightly packed, incredibly crowded, and constantly evolving with new food trends.
Whether you choose the accessible tourist favorite or the dense local hub, the culinary experience is going to be intense.
And to help our English learners truly capture that intensity, the sources highlight 3 distinct adjectives that Kevin uses to describe his meal.
These are words that elevate your English far beyond simply saying, "The food was good."
I want to put the listener right in the middle of the market. Imagine the sensory overload.
The neon signs are buzzing, the air is thick with the smoke from charcoal grills.
You hear the sizzling of oil and the shouting of vendors. It is hot, loud, and incredible.
And the first thing Kevin orders is fresh grilled seafood.
To describe this, the sources give us the word flavorful.
Flavorful is an essential adjective.
If a dish is flavorful, it means the paste is bold, complex, and distinct. It is the exact opposite of bland or boring.
Taiwanese night market food is famous for layering flavors. Sweet, salty, savory, and spicy, all hitting your palate at once.
When you bite into a piece of grilled squid coated in a thick, dark, spiced glaze, your taste buds are overwhelmed in the best way possible.
That complex explosion of taste is what makes a dish truly flavorful.
And to describe the physical quality of that same grilled squid, the sources provide our second vocabulary word, tender.
Tender is a word that describes the texture and the mechanical resistance of the food, particularly meats and seafood.
It is one of the highest compliments you can pay to the chef's cooking technique.
Right, because if you cook squid poorly, it turns into rubber.
It becomes incredibly tough and exhausting to chew. You are just fighting the food.
Exactly. But if the seafood is tender, it means the heat was applied perfectly.
The meat offers very little resistance. It is soft, it yields easily to your teeth, it practically melts in your mouth.
A flavorful marinade on a perfectly tender piece of seafood is the ultimate culinary goal of the night market grill.
So you are standing in this hot, crowded market, eating hot, flavorful, tender grilled seafood off a bamboo skewer.
You are inevitably going to start sweating.
The southern heat and the heat of the grills are compounding.
And that is when Kevin reaches for the famous local beverage. A tall, icy glass of freshly blended papaya milk.
A mixture of sweet, ripe tropical fruit and cold milk.
And the sources use our third vocabulary word to describe this drink. Refreshing.
Refreshing is a word deeply tied to a feeling of restoration.
Yes. It isn't just about the taste, it's about the physical relief the drink provides.
When you are overheated and tired, and you take a long drink of cold, sweet papaya milk, you can physically feel your body temperature drop.
You feel your energy spike back up. It washes away the exhaustion of the heat.
That feeling of being restored and revived, that is what it means for something to be truly refreshing.
It cuts right through the heavy, warm air of the market.
Flavorful, tender, refreshing. If you were learning English, mastering these 3 adjectives allows you to share the complete sensory story of a meal, rather than just delivering a boring verdict of, oh, I liked it.
It brings the listener into the experience with you.
Now, as we transition to the final day of Kevin's itinerary, the entire rhythm of the trip changes.
We have navigated the busy MRT. We have survived the strict rules of the padotas. We have conquered the sensory overload of the night market.
For the final day, the sources indicate a total deceleration. It is time to slow down, relax, and prepare to return home.
And what better way to slow down than engaging in a bit of retail therapy?
The sources detail Kevin's shopping experience, and just like the night markets, they highlight a stark contrast in the retail environments available in Kaohsiung.
They compare the massive Hanshin Arena shopping plaza with a vibrant commercial district called Shujungi.
It is the difference between global standardization and local trendiness.
The Hanshin Arena is your classic monolithic department store.
It offers intense air conditioning, pristine marble floors, and massive international luxury brands. It is predictable and comfortable.
But Shujungi operates on a completely different frequency.
The sources describe it as highly trendy.
This means it is highly attuned to the current moment.
It is packed with smaller, independent boutiques, rapid-fire street fashion, and unique items aimed largely at a younger demographic.
It is where you go to see what the youth culture of the city is currently excited about.
And regardless of whether you are in the massive plaza or the trendy street boutique, engaging in commerce in a foreign language can be intimidating.
The sources thoughtfully provide what we can call survival shopping English.
These are functional phrases that allow you to navigate a transaction with confidence.
Let's break these down because they are incredibly practical.
The first word is the universal language of shoppers everywhere: discount.
Kevin mentions that he was able to secure a discount on a new jacket.
A discount is simply a reduction from the stated retail price.
It is the financial reward for asking a simple question.
In many markets, particularly street markets or independent boutiques, the price tag is merely a starting point for a conversation.
Asking, is there a discount on this? Or can you offer a better price? Is a standard part of the retail dance.
And before he even negotiates that discount, Kevin has to ensure the jacket actually fits.
And this requires a very specific phrasal verb. He asks the clerk if he can try it on.
The distinction here is crucial for English learners. You cannot just use the base verb try.
If you are back at the night market and you point to the papaya milk, you can say, I want to try that. You mean you want to taste it.
But if you hold up a jacket in a clothing store and say, I want to try this, it sounds incomplete or confusing.
Right, because clothes require a physical action relating to your body. You have to add the preposition on.
You are asking to put the garment on your body.
Can I try this on? Immediately tells the shop clerk that you are looking for the fitting room to check the size and the cut.
And if it doesn't fit or if the style isn't quite right, the sources offer another brilliant survival phrase. Does this come in a different color?
It is so simple, but it keeps the interaction moving smoothly.
You like the cut of the jacket, but neon green isn't your style. Does this come in a different color, or does this come in a larger size?
These phrases give you control over the shopping experience. You aren't just passively looking, you are actively communicating your preferences.
Empowered by his successful discounted jacket purchase, Kevin heads toward his final destination as the evening sets in.
And the location the sources describe is perhaps the most famous and certainly the most romantically named landmark in the city.
He spends his final evening at the Love River.
The Love River. Even the phonetic sound of the name demands a slower, gentler pace.
The imagery the sources provide here is stunning. They describe the dark surface of the river acting like a mirror, reflecting the neon city lights along the banks.
They mention the ambient sound of romantic music drifting from the riverside cafes. It is a scene of profound urban tranquility.
And the vocabulary the sources use to describe Kevin's movement through the space perfectly captures that tranquility.
They use two highly specific words: stroll and cruise.
Let's examine the word stroll first, because it offers a brilliant lesson in the nuance of English verbs.
The sources deliberately contrast taking a stroll with taking a walk.
If you look in a basic dictionary, they might seem like synonyms. You are putting one foot in front of the other.
But the psychological state behind the two words is entirely different.
Completely different. Walking is fundamentally utilitarian. It is an action driven by a destination.
You walk to the MRT station because you have a train to catch. You walk to work because you have a meeting.
Your focus is on the endpoint, and your pace is usually determined by the clock.
But a stroll removes the destination entirely.
When the sources say Kevin takes a stroll along the Love River, they mean the act of walking is the entire point.
You are moving slowly, you are meandering.
Your focus is completely external. You are looking at the lights reflecting on the water, you are listening to the music, you are enjoying the cool evening air.
You cannot stroll if you are in a hurry. A stroll requires a total surrender to the present moment.
It is the physical manifestation of relaxation.
And Kevin pairs this leisurely stroll with our second vocabulary word. He boards an electric boat, often referred to locally as a love boat, and takes a slow cruise down the river.
Again, we have to look at the nuance here. Earlier in the trip, Kevin took a ferry across the harbor to Stygian.
A ferry is a boat, and a love boat is a boat.
But taking a ferry is transportation. The goal is to get to the other side.
A cruise, however, is a journey taken entirely for pleasure.
The boat moves slowly. You aren't trying to cross the river to get somewhere else. You're just floating along its length, letting the illuminated cityscape drift past you.
A stroll along the bank, followed by a slow cruise on the water. It is the perfect, poetic deceleration at the end of a busy travel itinerary.
It truly is. But as the river cruise ends and the trip concludes, Kevin, like every traveler facing the end of a journey, must prepare to return home.
And this transition brings us to the final and perhaps most meaningful section of our deep dive.
We need to talk about what exactly we take back with us when we leave a place.
The sources divide this concept into two categories: the tangible and the intangible.
The physical items and the emotional resonance.
Let's address the tangible items first. The vocabulary word here is souvenirs.
A souvenir is a physical object you purchase or collect to serve as a memory trigger for the place you visited, or to offer as a gift to prove to your friends and family that you were thinking of them while you were away.
And the sources specifically highlight the undisputed king of Taiwanese souvenirs. Kevin purchases boxes of pineapple cakes.
If you have never had a traditional Taiwanese pineapple cake, you are missing out on a masterpiece of baking.
It is a dense, crumbly, buttery pastry shell that encases a thick, sweet, and slightly tart jam made from local pineapples.
It is dense, heavy, and absolutely delicious. It is the perfect distillation of the island's agricultural sweetness into a portable brick.
But the sources also suggest looking beyond the edible souvenirs. They mention high-quality local teas, which are deeply ingrained in Taiwanese culture.
They mention artisanal handmade soaps. And crucially, they suggest returning to places like the Pier 2 Art Center to purchase unique, locally made handicrafts.
I always advocate for buying local art or handicrafts as a souvenir. It ties directly back to that vibrant creative energy we discussed at the beginning of the episode.
When you buy a ceramic bowl or a piece of jewelry from a local artist at Pier 2, you aren't just buying an object.
You are buying a tiny, physical piece of the city's modern creative soul. You are taking that vibration home with you to put on your bookshelf.
It is a wonderful way to support the local economy while securing a completely unique memory trigger.
However, the sources make a very deliberate pivot here. While pineapple cakes and handmade crafts are lovely, the most profound thing Kevin takes away from Kaohsiung cannot be packed into a suitcase.
This is the emotional climax of the source material.
Kevin realizes that the most impactful element of his trip wasn't the incredible architecture of the Dome of Light, or the flavor of the night market squid, or the breeze on the ferry.
The most impactful element was the character of the people he interacted with.
The sources describe the local residents as remarkably helpful, endlessly patient, and deeply warm.
And they introduce a specific cultural concept to define this atmosphere. They call it Southern hospitality.
Hospitality, at its core, is the friendly, generous reception of guests or strangers.
And in Taiwan, there is a widely acknowledged cultural phenomenon that the further south you travel, away from the frantic financial centers of the north, the warmer and more openly friendly the people become.
The sources provide a highly illustrative, practical example of what this Southern hospitality looks like in action.
They state that if you are standing on a street corner in Kaohsiung, looking confused and staring blankly at a map on your phone, you will not be ignored.
A local resident will inevitably stop their day, approach you, and ask if you need help finding your way.
Just pause and imagine the profound comfort of that scenario.
You are in a foreign country. You might be lost, tired, and a little bit anxious. The signs are in a language you might not fully read.
And instead of feeling invisible as people rush past you, a stranger stops, smiles, and offers you a lifeline.
That is the essence of Southern hospitality. They treat the stranger in their city as a guest in their home.
And this cultural reality leads to the most vital takeaway for our listeners who are currently studying English or any language.
The fear of making a mistake is the single greatest barrier to language acquisition. We freeze up because we don't want to sound foolish or use the wrong verb tense.
Yes, but the sources explicitly argue that this environment of intense hospitality is exactly why you must cast that fear aside.
Kaohsiung is the perfect laboratory to practice your survival English.
Because the people listening to you do not care about your grammatical perfection. They care about making a connection and helping a guest.
Think about the phrases we have explored today. Imagine walking up to a vendor and saying, "Excuse me, where can I find authentic seafood?"
Or standing in a boutique and asking, "Can I try this on?"
Even if your pronunciation is slightly off, even if you stumble over the words, the locals in Kaohsiung will not mock you.
They will lean in, they will patiently try to decode what you are saying, and they will respond with warmth. They will deeply appreciate the effort you are making to communicate.
Language is fundamentally a tool for human connection. The goal is not to pass a written exam. The goal is to successfully convey a thought from your mind to another person's mind.
When you are surrounded by Southern hospitality, the pressure of perfection evaporates. You are free to experiment, to stumble, and to learn in real time.
So as we bring our deep dive to a close, let's take a wide-angle look back at the incredible ground we have covered alongside Kevin.
We began by contrasting the frantic pace of the North with the open, sun-drenched, vibrant energy of the Southern Harbor.
We explored how the city honors its industrial past by transforming rusty warehouses into massive canvases for modern art at Pier 2.
We experienced the unique mechanics of floating across the harbor on a scooter ferry, and we learned the critical difference between a disruptive wind and a refreshing, breezy coastal bike ride.
We discussed why the word authentic is the key to unlocking the true culinary soul of a destination.
We ventured underground to navigate the MRT, learning the essential action of transferring lines, all while standing beneath the breathtaking, colorful narrative of the Dome of Light.
We returned to the surface to dissect the strict Taoist architectural rules of Lotus Pond, always entering the auspicious dragon and escaping the dangerous tiger, and we unpacked the physical geometry of how moon blocks communicate with the divine.
As night fell, we dove into the sensory overload of the local markets. We learned to describe food not just as good, but as flavorful, tender, and intensely refreshing.
We gathered the courage to ask for a discount and to try clothes-on in trendy boutiques before finally slowing our heart rates with a peaceful, meandering stroll and a love boat cruise reflecting the city lights.
It is a remarkably dense itinerary, but because of the pace of the city, it never feels rushed. And woven through every single experience is the acquisition of language.
And that is the ultimate encouragement we want to leave you with today. The spirit of these sources insists that the best way to learn English is to take it out of the classroom.
A language living inside a textbook is static. It doesn't breathe.
But when you take those words and you use them to order a meal, to navigate a subway, or to ask a stranger for directions, the language becomes vibrant. It vibrates with life.
Don't wait until your English is perfect to travel. Travel so that your English can improve. Make the mistakes. Have the awkward interactions. That is where the actual learning happens.
The real world is the ultimate classroom, and the locals are often the most patient teachers.
Exactly. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to ponder.
It builds on everything we just discussed about leaving a place.
We talked about packing our suitcases with pineapple cakes, local teas, and beautiful ceramic bowls. We fly thousands of miles home, we hand a box of cakes to our friends, and we say, I brought you a souvenir from Taiwan.
But I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
Years from now, long after the pineapple cakes have been eaten, and long after the handmade soap is washed away, what is the actual enduring souvenir of your journey?
Is it the physical object sitting on your shelf? Or is the true souvenir the internal architecture you built while you were there?
Is it the indelible memory of a stranger's southern hospitality when you were lost?
Is it the profound, quiet confidence you forged in the fire of the night market when you took a deep breath, stepped out of your comfort zone, and successfully used a foreign language to forge a connection with someone from a completely different world?
Which of those things actually changes who you are? The pastry or the courage?
It is a question worth carrying with you. Remember the image we started with, stepping into that wide-open, sunny space and letting your shoulders drop?
Learning English through travel shouldn't feel like a heavy burden.
It should feel like unbuttoning your collar after a long week. It should feel vibrant. It should feel as effortless and as rewarding as a breezy ferry ride across a sunlit harbor.
Take that confidence with you wherever your curiosity takes you next.
We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this virtual vacation and for trusting us to be your guides through the harbor city today.
It has been an absolute privilege to explore this with you.
Until next time, keep your mind open, keep practicing those descriptive words, and keep diving deep into the world around you. Goodbye.
Goodbye and safe travels.